Hey guys, it's Will from Magic the Friendly Tavern on Facebook, and today we're going to do a Mono Blue Delver deck tech. I haven't talked about Mono Blue Delver because I built it and I had to put it aside because, well, for Mono Blue Delver to work, we need good counter spells, and there wasn't really any good counter spells last season. But with Crimson Vow coming out, we got a few that are useful. So I updated the deck, got a few things running together, and we got a spirit sub theme, but we're not exactly a spirit deck. We're a Delver deck. But let me show you some new tech that we got in here. Or let me go ahead and go through the deck tech, and you'll see the new stuff in there. Not much, but a little bit. All right, first up is Delver of Secrets. It's a 1-mana 1/1. You may reveal a card. You may reveal the card from the top of your library during your upkeep. If it's an instant or sorcery, you can transform Delver of Secrets into a flying 3/2 flyer. That means on turn 2 you can have a flying 3/2 flyer. That's a fast clock. 6 hits will kill an opponent. If you can add just 2 damage every turn that you swing in with Delver's 3 damage, you take that 6-turn clock down to a 4-turn clock. That's fast. Our other creatures include Benevolent Hermit, which we can is 2 mana for a 2/1, but we can pay 1 to sacrifice it to counter non-target creatures counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. And then we can play it from our graveyard for its Serb Cross, and it comes in as a 2/2 flyer. Non-creature spells I control can't be countered. Then if it would go to the graveyard, it's exiled instead. Good card. Then we have Spectral Adversary, Flash, 2/1 flying. When it comes into play, I can play 1 in a blue any number of times. Each time I pay it, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and then phases out an artifact, creature, or an enchantment until end of turn. So that's great. We can use this offensively or defensively. We can phase out blockers, or we can phase out our own Delver to protect it from removal. Because we run so low creatures, we want to keep our creatures in good shape. Which this deck runs about 15 creatures, 16 creatures, so it's a little more creature heavy than normal. But we don't have a lot to fall back on in blue, so that's why. Then we have our Suspicious Stowaway. Can't be blocked. Whenever Suspicious Stowaway deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. So that gets us to our deck, especially if it's on its second side, where it can't be blocked. It's a 2/1. And when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We get to keep that card. No discard. Good creature. Then we have Dream Shackle Guys, from the new set, from Crimson Vow. 3 mana, 3/1 flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Tap target creature. That lets us get a blocker out of the way. Our target creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, so we can keep down their big thing and maybe stay alive with the extra turn. Pretty good guy for a Delver deck. Then we have Overcharged Amalgam, also from Crimson Vow. 4 mana, 3/3 flash, fly, and exploit. When Overcharged Amalgam exploits a creature, counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. It's a counter on a stick. Yes, we have to give up a little bit of tempo in one of our creatures that we're swinging in with, but this is fine. If anything, it's a flash 3/3 flyer that they didn't expect. Maybe we can get some value out of blocking with it. Of course, we just want to attack. Next is a really good card. Oh my goodness, this card is so good. Demolitch. Demolitch is 4 blue for 4/3, so it's hard to play outside of a blue deck, but you can do it, and this is why. Because it costs 1 blue less for every instant and sorcery spell we cast this turn. So it'll allow us to cast all of our spells and still dump this creature into play for possibly even free. That's great. That's great value, especially in a mono blue deck. Whenever it attacks, I can exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from our graveyard, copy it, then cast that copy. So we get to copy spells when we attack with him. This is awesome. Or dig spells and stuff to get us further into the deck. This is what we're looking for. You may cast Demolitch from your graveyard by exiling 4 instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. This means that we can recur it. We can bring this creature back. That's good in a deck that's low on creatures and really has to be careful and not overextend. Having a little bit of recursion never hurts. Next up is our dig spells. Of course, we have Consider. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card in your graveyard, draw a card. And Otherworldly Gaze. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put any number of them back in your graveyard and the rest back on the top of your library in any order. Helps us dig through our graveyard. And then our third one, Deliberate, which is scry 2, then draw a card. Great card. Next up is our removal, which is the rest of our deck. We have Wash Away. Wash Away is great. Now, at first glance, it doesn't seem all that good. So for 1 mana, we can counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner's hand. Well, when does that ever happen? Well, it happens when they foresee a card. If they foretell a card, and I'm sorry I call foresee. When they foretell a card such as Doomscar, and then try to cast it not from their hand but exile, we get to counter it for 1 blue mana. Other times, this is just a cancel. It costs 3 to count. We can counter anything. This is fine. Good spell. Good spell. Also, flashback. They try and cast stuff from their graveyard, we can stop that. If they get a free spell, if they get to cast a free spell off of an iteration or something, then we get to stop it. Next is Test of Talents. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. That player shuffles and then draws a card for each exiled from their hand this way. So we can completely shut off a spell. We can take any instant or sorcery out of their deck and get rid of it. All their Doomscars, all of their Alrund's Epiphanies. Anything we counter with this, we can just get rid of all the extra copies and then they're down that. This is really tech heavy. This is a really good spell. 2 mana for that kind of effect, being able to affect 4 cards is kind of huge. Next up is you find the Villain's Lair. For 3 mana and instant, we can counter target spell or draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. So this allows us to tear through our deck, but it also allows us to have leave up counter magic as well. Great card, great card. Straddles the line between both removal and card draw. Flexibility, that's what we're looking for. Fading Hope. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value was 3 or less, scry 1. Great early tempo card. Great tempo card in general. Lets us search through our deck and gets rid of a blocker or an attacker. Gets rid of an early game threat. Whatever we need it to do. Fading Hope is great. Next up is Into the Royal. Into the Royal, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. So for 2 mana, we bounce anything. When it comes back, we can counter it on the way back down too. It's called the counter bounce. That's what we're looking to do, because sometimes stuff slips through and we're not able to counter it because we have to deploy our own threats or other reasons. And this allows us to put it back in their hand, and when they go to recast it, maybe we have another shot at countering it, or it just gets rid of it for enough turns that we can get in there and do what we need to do. Drawing an extra card is great. Then we have Raven Form, which is actually a removal spell. Exile target artifact or creature. That's big. That's big in blue. Blue used to not have this kind of effect at all, ever. It's control, except for a few other ones, Frogify, Pongify, and the Manifest one. I can't think of its name. It has a few of these effects, but not very many. It always leaves behind a token because it's a polymorph spell. You're turning one creature into another creature. That's what you're doing. You're getting rid of one creature, but you're leaving it behind in another form. So you just changed its form. You haven't actually killed it. That's how it goes flavor-wise anyways. But we can foretell this for 1. They get a 1/1 blue flying bird creature token in for their trouble. But our Delver is a 3/2, so we don't really care about a 1/1. Most of all of our creatures match up better than that. And if they don't, we'll tap it down, or we'll bounce it, or we'll do something to get rid of it. But being able to just exile an artifact or creature is just great. Just great. So we run 1 copy of it in there. And then for another big spell we have is Sleep. Tap all creatures target player controls. Those creatures don't untap during their player's next untap step. This gives us 2 combats, free and clear of all creatures. This gives us 2 combats, nearly free of all creatures. If they play an extra creature on the second turn, there's not really much we can do about it, but maybe we can get through it. This is very helpful. This will let us get in. We use this almost primarily aggressively, but it can be used defensively if you just need a couple of more turns to stabilize. Great card. After that, we're running 13 islands. We're running 3 MDFCs. These are the MDFCs are land on one side and spells on the other. This allows us to run more spells and less lands to increase our chance of flipping Delver. This particular one is a counter spell. Counter target spells unless its controller pays 1. This is a 4 spike. This is a gotcha card. This is going to feel good when it happens. Then we have Salundi Vision. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it lets us dig. Lets us find our instants and sorceries. Maybe we need a Raven form. It'll help us find that. Comes into play tapped as an island. And our final MDFC is, of course, Seagate Restoration. Draw a card equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1 if you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. But it can come into play untapped if you bolt yourself. So that's why it's in here. It's pretty good. That gives us 18 lands, which, as you can tell, our curve is really short. We stop at 4, but really most of our curve is 1 through 2. So we can get away with it. Plus all the digging we do, we usually find our lands. So it's not that big a deal. And that's it for this deck tech on Mono Blue Delver. I'll take it out for a spin a little bit later. Again, my name is Will. I'm down with Magic the Friendly Tavern on Facebook. Come and see us. And I want y'all to have happy pack pulls. And as always, happy games.